system.
And my game crashed.
Christopher, that is not funny.
My game crashed.
Well, Shelby, you ready for this?
No!
My
We're
game
not moving.
Come on.
This is a throwback to fucking Warframe.
Come on, buddy. Come on, Shelby. We got this.
Testing an extremely powerful Rattle Market. Did I really just say Rattle Market? Rattle Market.
I'm in danger!
I'm literally just going down little. I was gonna go. I'm dead.
It's a level 30. I'm just gonna... What the fuck? I don't trust this.
A treasure chest.
Oh no!
It's broken.
Oh no.
A few moments later.
Booth said, "Oh, you found that KEKW," which is like a laughing emoji, and said, "Welcome to Ohio." Ah! What the fuck was that?
Don't worry about it. I got it.
Autopilot. Autopilot. There's a moon. There's a sun there. There's a sun there. Stop it. Oh fuck. Autopilot just fucking killed me. You okay? Hello? Well, now I'm gonna feel bad. Ah! Ah! I no longer feel bad. No longer feel bad. No, no bro, I'm literally right here.
Man, give me some bolts too, because you know.
Goddamn, what am I? You damn pimp daddy?
You give me a crossbow with no ammo, and how am I supposed to use it?
Beat him with it.
What the fuck?
A few moments later.
God damn it! Well, hi.
Horrified looks from everyone in the room.
Well, he's not very nice. And they won.
Yay! Damn, I've leveled up. What the fuck am I? Good thing I'm not trying to talk to you. I leveled up. Jesus. What are the lights?
Anna, don't worry. I'm a master. Anna, I got this. Don't worry about it.
What's wrong, brother? You have a performance issues?
Nick!
Told you, I had it.
Uh-huh.
Excellent. Now it's gonna make me dizzy. Oh shit.
So cute too.
I'm gonna go to that other side of Grace. Didn't mean to do that, but alright.
What else, Shadow Grace? And never mind, use it. What'd you do? I was waiting on that. And I would be behind you.
Yep. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Nope.
Oh yeah!
Nope.
Give me some bolts too, because you know.
Goddamn, what am I, you damn pimp daddy?
Well, hello there. So, today, I'm excited. Because there's been a game that I've been wanting to play for a hot minute. I heard about it, I don't remember. Let me look actually want to see what, oh, if you buy something, does it yes, it does. Okay, damn. I heard about this game called Worshippers of Cthulhu, right? In case you don't know, if you're new here, I used to play a game called Call of Cthulhu. Hey, McKinney man! How you doing today? I'm not at work, as obviously. Nice to see you around. I really like Cthulhu stuff. My dice bag I paid $50 for back in the day is Cthulhu themed. I love Cthulhu. He's fucking creepy and gross, and I love it. Anyway, so we saw this game called Worshippers of Cthulhu, which is like SimCity, because you were the only person that followed me that day. And I just remembered the name. But, yeah, we saw this. It's like, think of SimCity, but for Cthulhu. And it's creepy and weird, and I'm really fucking excited for it. And I had a little bit of extra money on my paycheck, so we're gonna play it today. So buckle up, buttercups. We're gonna fuck some shit up. I already have it up, but I have not played it yet. I just wanted to make sure that everything works. Don't worry. It is all good, bro. But, yeah, I'm super excited. That's, oh shit. Chapter 1. The Dream Shroud. Your long journey towards a prophesized... I don't have my glasses on, y'all. I can't see for shit. Hosting an opening to the sacred Rylech is at its end. Can you keep your cult alive? Can you peek at the secrets of the old one? Oh shit, what is this? Boundless Archipelago. Love that. I love that word. The Dream Shroud. The fuck is all this shit? I have no idea what's going on. Unlock all chapter. Okay, no, we're just gonna play. Is there an easier one? Okay. I don't know. I've seen minimal.
Not a harbinger of destruction. I am but a herald of cosmic rebirth. Our purpose is not to sow chaos, but to embrace the inevitable evolution that awaits us all. Humanity is insignificant, pitiful in its smallness. Our existence is a fleeting whisper in the cosmic winds. And only by awakening Cthulhu can we transcend our feeble existence. In one profound act, we can shake the foundations of the universe. Let us awaken Cthulhu, for in his awakening lies the catalyst for a cascading effect that will reshape the cosmos, and a new order shall emerge. The path ahead is treacherous, fraught with challenges, yet it is the only path worth treading. Let us forge a destiny that transcends the mundane.
Hell yeah! Is that... Am I supposed to be that guy? That'd be kind of funny. Wisdom of the God. As events unfold within your cult, your followers will attempt to read it! God damn it. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. Got that one. Oh no, I want to hit a rock. Shit. Shit! No, we literally, like, fucked up.
Never wavering, my venerable.
Oh fuck, you scared me.
Your guidance has proven prophetic.
Okay.
The structure before us, etched with our Lord's symbols, emerged as if unveiled at our approach. A certain sign of our fated arrival to this prophesied land.
Oh shit.
We've reached the edge of his holy realm, Ryla.
Ryla. Sounds like a name. Oh. Deconstructing objects. To deconstruct, you and your people will begin the salvage process. Your people can only salvage one object at a time. Fun. Okay. Okay, it is working. Okay, cool. Okay.
High Priest, we may scavenge the fundamental provisions required for our settlements from the remnants of our ship's shattered hull.
Okay.
Your steadfast
Whoa!
light shall heed.
Can zoom in. To build a building, select it in the bottom building menu, picking from the chosen category. Buildings require materials to be spent. Builder's shack in its vicinity to be constructed. To rotate building, Q and E, demolish, use Q, and select the demolish tool. Cool.
Command toiling tirelessly at your behest.
So can we just, like, destroy everything? Construct a lumberjack
Our
mill.
resources are dwindling, High Priest.
Can you see
It's
everything?
time your followers have proven their worth by constructing a lumberjack and lumber mill to secure our
Oh, I need
survival.
both. Okay. I just... What's that mean? Okay, well that doesn't do anything different. Oh. Huh. Okay. I did that one. Let's put that beside it. The Builder Shack provides a provides builders team that will travel via roads and construct your structures. Each builder team is capable of building one building at a time.
The sights await, High Priest, but it will be a true trial of your followers' capabilities to see if they can deliver on our expectations.
Is that within... whatever? All buildings need to be connected via roads to the main storage in order for them to function. Okay, where's the main storage? Oh. There. Okay, so, roads? What? Oh, hang on. White beach. God damn it. Let's make it look pretty. Oh, oh, nope, other way, other way, other. Oh. Yeesh way! Motherfucker! Oh, lag. And there. Then here. There. There. Can I turn my... Is this not like Sims? I can't... What the fuck are you? My faith? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Well, what are you doing? Oh. Is it not connected to it? It's connected to it. Dumb. Oh. Well, you can't kind of get more than that. So what are y'all doing?
We will be rewarded.
Oh. So does it have to go here? Oh! That is the problem. Okay. you gonna build? Just a problem. Why is it not?
Worship the Great One.
Can you, like, go do stuff now? Hello? I don't know why. Oh! Oh! Doing things. I can't. I feel really stupid right now. Why are you not? Because you're connected to road. My
We obey. We will be rewarded.
Can you guys go build this now? Patience.
Our work for our God.
Am I dumb? Connect structures via roads to finish the thing. Lumberjack in the mill. Why is it? Can you cooperate? Oh, that's not it.
All of the teachings.
Maybe I don't have enough. Oh. Oh. Maybe I don't have enough material? Is that what it is? It doesn't show. I'm confused. Are you guys gonna build now? Because, bitch, I'll demolish you and we'll try again. First, we'll do this part. Come on. Kinda wish it would show. Let me just, let's just restart. Yeah? MK! My love, my darling, hello. I'm a little stupid. So we're trying to figure some shit out. I don't quite understand what I did wrong. So what do you need? Okay, maybe, it just released not too long ago. Okay, let's see if we can't set up a road. Now what? It is connected to the... Not connected to the builder shack. Bitch, how fucking needy are you? Oh, we got a thing. Got a dial. Why is it not? I don't understand. What am I doing wrong? Oh! Figured it out, y'all. I'm not entirely stupid. Alright. Also, if you see stuff on my head, I dyed my hair literally like 2 hours ago. So we're not gonna talk about it, okay? So that's a lumber, what? Lumberjack. So now we need a lumber mill. We're just gonna put you bitch right there. Right? Right? We'll keep... Oh, whatever. We are not Cthulhu. We are trying to keep our Cthulhu-based people alive until Cthulhu... Oh. Oh, okay. Hold on. The top UI shows up. What the fuck is in my hair? What the fuck are you? You! What the fuck is orange? Bro. I'm offended now. Yeah, homeless who are not able to work. So up here? Yeah, okay. turn homeless followers into workers, provide them with housing. God, y'all bitches needy. Okay.
The erection of houses is necessary, for homeless followers will not perform any work.
Here, let's... I wish I could fucking, like, turn my screen a little bit. We're gonna build a road. And we're gonna have some people living out here. And y'all bitches can live in a little cul-de-sac. Yeah? Yeah? MK! In case you missed it, because I don't know how much showed up on stream. I need to get the chat working. What are they going to ask for next? Food? Water? I'm dead. I'm fucking dead and dying. Oh my god, hang on a second. Time and spot. I need to fix that. You're too fucking funny. I'm literally gonna cry. You're stupid. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't. Oh, okay. My front door is right over there, right? And it's light in my house. And I'm looking at chat on this. I have a laptop beside me because I play in full screen. I saw the fucking... Because I have a fan. I'm not really explaining this well. I'm so sorry. You have me so fucked up. I have a towel on my front door because it gets real bright in here sometimes. It moved and the reflection on my TV scared the crap out of me. Stupid. Oh my god. Oh my god, let me hang on. Scared me. You're killing me today. Oh, it's Aiden! Hey, Aiden! I didn't even notice who it was. Oh my god. What did I do? Did you just make a little community for the homeless out in the woods? You know what? If you've been around High Point, I know I met you at High Point. It's been that way. We went to Walmart earlier because I had to get my hair dyed and some stuff for the house. Bro, they were just fucking everywhere. I'm like, Jesus Christ, are we Charlotte all of a sudden? To assign an employee, select the plus icon in the builder's UI and select I need my glasses, Jesus. An unemployed follower. Each employee can now only be assigned to one workplace. Excuse me. Production, I burp a lot. The Shelby you met at work and the Shelby here, same person, a little bit more unhinged. Production buildings will either generate items from the environment or turn one material into another. Performance indicates how fast a material is produced. To see what influences production time, see the factors section of the UI. Yeah. Oh wait, are you back? Hold on. Shut up, old man. Are you back, Aiden? Are you home? Are you in High Point? Cause you just got me excited. Not like I'll be able to see you, cause I'm at fucking another job. Nice! Are you here just for a break?
Select your devoted followers and initiate the...
But what if they're all stupid? Oh my god, can y'all not talk over each other? Okay. Ophelia Ward. Jesus, lady, you... She's look a little better, don't she? Yes, I open tomorrow. It's the one on Fairfield. Right across from where we worked. Did you just say you fucking graduate in December? Because that just burned my brain in two. Thank you, MK. In case you're still watching, I don't buy followers. I'd rather never have followers than be a bitch and fucking buy them. Fuck you. Anyway. Jesus Christ. I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, yes, I open tomorrow. So I'll be there 7 to 3 unless they kick me out earlier. So, and I will be up front. So. Oh, yeah. But yeah. What? What are we doing?
Workers, O High Priest.
Ophelia, she's already doing. Oh. What? is passionate about working in a corn plantation. How do you become passionate about working with corn? Oh my god, it's corn! I can't do the scat thing he does. You have to ignore me. You'll ask if I have edible duct tape. And I'm gonna hug you, and then I'm gonna throw you to the ground. Like, yeet! Get fired from another job for inciting workplace violence. Anyway. Deconstruct ruins to gather. Scared me, Aiden. You little bitch. Okay, you can't just say shit like that. It fucking made me almost spit my drink out. Oh, I had an idea. Is that what you could call a corn concert? Like the band Corn? A cornfield? No children are in here. Oh, there. I thought you meant in here, like the stream. I was about to be like, bitch, why are there children here? No, go away. Also, I know you can see, it's not dirt, it's not weird shit. I dyed my hair, and I'm messy as fuck about it. The mosh pit is just a corn pit. Bro, we saw Corn in Charlotte. It was years ago. And God damn it. Oh, we're sitting there. I did. Oh my god. Hang on. Let me turn my camera off. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, for those that don't know me, which, I mean, like, 90% of you do. The only person here that doesn't is McKinney, but, like, we met at work. It's fine. I worked at Walmart for 3.5 years. I have hurt myself. I crippled myself. I broke my fucking foot working for this place. And I got fired for bullshit. Right? I worked in online grocery. when I was already using, I was already using this shirt for this purpose before I got fired, but now I do it as a point. This is my dyeing shirt. D-Y-E, not D-I-E. Which I'll find. Camera? Thank you. This shirt used to be really tight on me, by the way. It's probably a 3X. Alright. This bitch is a 3X, and look at how little it is on me. Well, I mean, that doesn't count. But, yeah, that was a great shirt. My dyeing shirt. Oh, where'd my camera go? There it is. Caution, don't get them perks for free. You make a good fucking point. You're a good dude. Delete that. Anyway. Fuck Walmart. But anyway. Context is very important, especially around me. Alright. Ruins? No matter, what? Okay, so let's... Can I have more? Wait a minute. It said 1 per... This thing, right? Builder Shack? Ew! I can't say shit. I went there today, too. Because a box of dye for $8, where at my job it's like 10 or 11 or something like that. So, like, Ritual's like, sacrifice? Oh, yay! I got to be a sacrifice! Oh my god, we should make that a sound here. Which, by the way, for those that don't know, I have a Discord. I post a lot of shit. I collected 10 ruins. Look at me go. I also have a YouTube channel. And yeah! What? Oh, that's me. I do post VODs and stuff. Literally. I also have... Where is it? Oh yeah, I forgot I had this thing. Does this work? It should work. It's not gonna work. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, also on TikTok. By the way, I've been trying to edit more stuff. It's at the shellbutt, the same way it's spelled here. I need to make a little thing for it. I'll do that shit later. Fuck it. But yeah, I also have sounds and stuff. Oh, there it is! Is it really not dad joke anymore? I had a dream that I was a muffler last night. I woke up exhausted. Where's my dad? Somewhere in Welcome, that's all I know. Anyway. Where did I have that? Here, I need to do just dad, I think. What's the worst part about being a cross-eyed teacher? They can't control their pupils. That's so stupid. Where is it? I thought I had. Right, it's the best kind. Also, I have emotes and shit. I think I have free ones. Also have... What is it? This is my favorite. Not gonna lie. It's the Gengar licking one. I love it. It's just exclamation point dad. We love it. Also, because I'm getting a little bit of viewers, it's fine. It's whatever. This emote is from the day that I became an affiliate here. And the very first time I got a sub, which was one of my, I think it was Tanker. He is one of my best friends. He's from Finland. I haven't talked to him in like 3 years, but I love him. Like, he's one of the few internet people that, like, if I got to meet, I would, like, hug the shit out of him. But this is the emote that somebody made for me. I did not ask them to. They made this emote for me. That is my reaction. I was also 60 pounds heavier, by the way. If you ever go through my clips and stuff, I have a lot of videos that I post that are, like, clip things. I've been doing this shit since, like, 2015, off and on. More off than on, but less, whatever. It's fine. You can see me starting streaming and YouTube and shit, gaining weight, peak of my weight, and then losing weight. And it's so fucking funny to me. Because, for those that may not know, I used to be 325 pounds. I am now a brisk 246, because I'm the lowest I've ever been. Anyway, let's play a game. I'm a little distracted. I'm very sorry. Oh shit! I literally talked about it, and now he's talking about it. We love that. I need that. Damn it. What is it? Fanaticism. Ooh. The top UI bar shows your current cult fanaticism. You can increase or decrease it by making decisions and taking actions marked with hover over a specific threshold to see its effects. Okay. 2 seconds because... Oh, we have a decision here. Okay, well, 2 seconds. I'm gonna do a thing. Real fucking quick. Okay, I have to mute my thing real quick, so y'all just listen to the beauty of my voice. What's his name? Is it Mort? Ah, oh, damn. Mort. Not Mortal Kombat. Damn it. Yes! Shut up. Go away. Voice mod? I have voice mod. I bought voice mod forever ago. Yo! They added stuff? Oh yay, I'm a sacrifice! Damn it. I really need... What? Unable to make requests. Man, I really need a voice clip of that. If someone can give me that. Okay, I have a challenge for you guys. If you can get me like an MP4 or something of Mort from Madagascar, saying, "Oh yay, I'm a sacrifice." If you can get to me and DM it to me on Discord, I will love you forever. And then I will make it a part of the thing. Oh, okay, so we actually have people in here for once. Normally I stream to like 1 or 2 people. You'll see it in chat. We have an ad break incoming. We have one about every 30 minutes, and I hate it. I hate it. I fucking hate running them. But I have a reason for it. For those that don't know, on Twitch, if I don't run ads at all, if a new person joins that do not follow or sub, whatever the fuck, it runs like 5 or 6 ads, all like 2 minutes long, and that is fucking ridiculous to me. So if I do one every like 30 minutes or whatever it is, I think it's like 35, they get no ads. So this is why we do it. I don't give a fuck about the money. Honestly, and I don't want y'all to subscribe because I don't want Twitch to get more money. Like, if you was going to give me money, I'd rather you give it to me on Ko-fi or something. So, I just want to get that out there for the people that are new or that might be watching this or just whatever the fuck. Thank you, MK. I love you much. See y'all in a minute, but we're not really going to be doing anything except for, like, fucking around on the game. So, I just wanted y'all to get that out there so that, you know, and if y'all... Okay, no worries. Yeah, and everybody's on the thing. Yep. Also, I stream so randomly, it's not even funny. But, you know. Okay. To thank the Old One for allowing them to arrive on his land, your people prepare ritual firewood spires. Each spire holds 2 caught animals struggling against the ropes and a captive brought along during your long voyage. The young man screams with a torn voice, crazed eyes, and deep bruises on his body. You are asked to throw the torch to begin the celebrations. Light the spires in a way that causes a slow and painful burn, consequences, more fanaticism. Or release the sacrifice from the spires. 1 homeless plus fanaticism. Less fanaticism. I guess we're gonna kill him, because we're not good people. We're not a good cult, so... As the last breath is drawn from the sacrifices and cultists' excitement reaches its peak, suddenly something changes. People begin to scream and yell. You see a glimpse of the vision they see, a majestic tendrils of God slithering from the chasm, dripping in blood and gore, covering the ground. Where the gore falls, a new material packet is unearthed. The vision fades and your consciousness with it. I would have waited till after the ad break. Oh shit. Nope. I'm scared to try to pause it. Dad? What the fuck is that?
High Priest, have your senses been rekindled?
What the fuck?
At the culmination of the ritual, both of us...
What the fuck was that? Oh my god. Oh, bitch, what the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god. I hate that. Oh my god. Oh my god. Who the fuck are you? Okay. Welcome back. I didn't expect that to happen. I'm very fucking sorry. Thank you, Aiden. What the fuck happened with my thing? What happened to my alert? Oh, that thing happened. Thank you. Appreciate that. Also, why the fuck is that over there? Okay, we're gonna re-roll that one real quick, just so that we can have the intended... Oh wait, no. Ah, here, ha, you don't see this. You don't see this. You don't see this. Fourth wall break. Fourth wall break. Okay, cool. Can I not No, I don't want to fucking... What? Okay, well, apparently I can't redo it. I'm very sorry. I tried. Shit. Okay, so... I want to kind of show y'all what just fucking happened. What are you doing, Peter? Oh, sorry. Okay, clips. Where'd it go? Why is it that every time I stream some bullshit's happening in fucking my town? Shit. Anyway, I wanted... Oh, damn. What did I just hit? Did I hit this one right? Did I do it? Okay. It's kind of in a fucked up position because I can't really make it... Oh, there you go. I would have waited till after the ad break. Oh, shit. I can't go bigger with this. Sorry. Nope. I'm scared to try to pause it. Oh, thank you. Dad? Yeah. What the fuck is that, y'all? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Oh, bitch, what the fuck is that? Oh my god. Okay, hang on, let me hear. Oh, let me. Thank you, MK. Okay, we're gonna do a thing. Real quick. I'm super sorry. Hang on. Here we go. By the way, I think all of these still work. Nope, that one doesn't work. That one doesn't work. We're also gonna do a little bit of thing. Cause did I fix this one? Nope. Cause see, I accidentally, this is like a year ago, I was cleaning out my computer and I accidentally deleted my fucking stream folder. So everything that holds all of my sound clips, all of my GIFs, everything. So, I got fucked up. Alright, we're doing... Okay. I'm gonna do this one. Oh god, this is gonna be so good. Okay. Trying to... no, what the fuck? There we go. Excuse me. Play sound. And then, oh, I have to do stuff. I know this is not the content you wanted, but it's the content you're getting because I have ADHD and the shit. Oh, I'm sorry, bitch. Oh, you don't hear it because I forgot I muted the thing. Shit. Okay. Someone type sacrifice. It should work without... No? We love it! Okay. So now we're gonna do that whenever... Yep, okay. Eldritch Favor... Oh, God. Allows you to settle sacred lands and unlock new buildings. Enter the Eldritch Favor... I keep wanting to say flavor. Y'all are gonna stress me the fuck out. This is why I shouldn't give you guys things by interacting with the icon building menu. Oh my god.
Our God spoke to us through images and visions.
Fine, MK. How do I do it? I can't even remember how I did it. Hang on. Can't remember. Not, that's not it. I don't know. There's a lot of police activity going on. Where the fuck did I just go? Plans. I have it as max as it'll go. I wonder how I did that. That's actually gonna bother me now. Yeah, MK, if you can find a louder one, send it to me and I'll fix it. Because the only way I can make it louder is if I do this. Well, yeah, y'all go ahead. Somebody sacrifice himself. I'll change this audio.
Oh yay! I'm a sacrifice!
Is that to y'all's liking, my dears? My psycho little babies? Was that good? Or not? Oh, I'm gonna have to turn my fucking camera thing up. Facebook. Oh, God. Okay, hang on. Un momento, por favor. I will say, stream doesn't usually go this off the rails, but we having fun, bitch. Which one are you? Are you the normal one or no? Okay. Okay, let's try it. You ready? Alright, someone sacrifice.
Oh yay! I'm a sacrifice!
That was louder for me, but I know it's louder for y'all.
Oh yay! I'm a sacrifice!
How loud is that for you guys? Much better. The children have been appeased. I am a good mother. Oh my god. I wish... Oh my god. If you guys want, I will make a channel. Hang on. Okay. Here, I made this. I will... Damn. Okay. In chat. Now, if you are already in the Discord, just look for the thing. Yes. It's there. You should be able to join if you are not. If you want. I tag when I go live. I chat, but not a lot of people respond to me. It's fine. Send me MP4s and name them. And I will incorporate them, and then we'll make a master list of all the sounds that I have on stream. I just noticed that the pause screen says "Our Lord will not wait." Love that for me. But yes, for those that are looking for it, it's sound.
Oh yay! I'm a sacrifice!
I'll put it under general for the sound clip suggestion. So behave. The only rules here. I will type them as well. Nothing that can get me banned. What is it called whenever they canceled? Yeah. Okay. Alright, let's actually play the fucking game. Alright, unlock sacrificial.
Hanging by the edge of the holy abyss. Speak the command, High Priest, and we shall erect this maiden monument bestowed upon us by our sovereign.
We have maidens? Oh, that really zoomed in. Oh yeah, there's one right there. Did she just fall? That was kind of funny. Okay. Why can't I see it? Turn it around. You'll get on my fucking nerves. Anyway. Alright. Building. So what are we doing? What are we trying to achieve? Followers uncover secrets and pledge your loyalty to the leader and still serve full power of their faith. That's weird. Oh damn, look at this. I think that's what this is. Cthulu's patience. Oh shit, Papa gonna get mad. Okay. Where is this? Sacrifice altar. in the Eldritch Favor window. I kind of didn't pay attention to that one. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. We have a... Oh. Oh! Okay. I want to see if this makes where I can have 2 builders at a time. Is this... Why do I have a feeling that you're all going gremlin shopping for sounds? Should I be scared? Oh, what's that? Oh, I got new inventory items. Cool. Alright, oh shit, what is this? Oh, man. Oh, shit. What? Why is... Oh, I guess I get to have multiple maps? Oh, shit, I do. I need this. Okay. Oh, damn. Oh, this is what he was talking about. Okay. But then I got distracted by a different folder of sounds I made for my bro and I came to... Alright, oh, okay. So, sacrifice altar. Gotcha. Let's... Oh, look. He's gonna... Oh, I can!
Oh,
Yo.
yay! I'm a sacrifice!
I can! Me and my dumbass self. Okay, let's... Does this mean I can have 2? Why can't I? Ugh. Okay. Sacrifice all.
High Priest, it is imperative that the sacrificial altar be erected at the designated location, facing the abyss that lies at the heart of this realm.
Oh, yay! I'm a sacrifice!
Okay, should I build a road? I don't think I should have to, but like... I mean, they need a road to know where the fuck they're going, right? Damn. These bitches working hard. Okay, cool. Oh, cut screen. Who the fuck are you? Can y'all hear this okay? Dope. That just scared the shit out of me. Can you please go away? Hello? As faithful, you can ask for blessings from your god. Among them, ask for eldritch favor needed for construction and unlocking buildings. I already have one, but it is not... It is not... Because that sound thing fucks with me. It's a dono thing. I have to go see which one it is, because I can't actually remember what it is. It's been so long. I think it was the scare stream that I had. I think these are it. Hang on. Yeah, I think these are it though. Hang on. What am I looking for? Oh, there we go. I mean, the scare alerts are still there as far as I know. I don't think I ever took them off. Hang on. Variations. I didn't? What do you mean? Okay, so ignore that chat. I could do that. I could do that later. Here, I will set up a to-do list for when I get off stream today. Alright, I'll make my honey-do list. Stream honey-do list. Okay. Redo, scare, stream, dono, go. Damn. Dono, sounds, make some scare, channel, D. There we go. There. Are you happy? Alright. Yep.
Not your station as immutable. Demonstrate worth.
That's the third set of alarms I've heard. I want to sacrifice somebody.
Embrace your destiny.
Oh yay! I'm a sacrifice!
What the fuck is this? Oh shit.
Earthly teachings.
What's happening?
The fire was kindled, my high priest. We must hastily commune with the faithful followers.
Well, I won't be there. Let's see. Have somebody.
We obey.
Do we have more people? This family is passionate about working in Blood Drainer? Bitch, what the fuck? I mean, pop off, but... Oh, I have more homeless people. Hang on. Hold on. Forgot about that. Okay. But now we should have... Damn, my shit is going bad. Well, now we won't have any more homeless people.
Do you hear his whisper?
Oh. Okay, well, whatever. Well, let's cancel that. Okay. Well, we got more than enough. This house is... Okay.
Do you hear his whisper?
Let's complete it.
Blessed are we by the magnificent tendrils of our God's lineage. But I will have to quell the fear in our faithful, guiding them to all.
Even awakened.
What was awakened? I mean, something awakened in me, but like, that's a whole nother thing. Ooh. Alright, what are we doing? Interact with the bonfire and listen to your people. What bonfire?
Embrace your destiny.
What oh! What y'all hookers doing?
Encountering the harbinger of God and the living conditions of your flock distort their minds. Pitiful, unenlightened souls. Yet, we should attend to their primal needs, to amend this distraction. I have carefully recorded the needs of the faithful within their houses, all for your noble purpose.
Literally. Yay, we killed Jimmy, we hated that guy. Hang on, also, I need to... Enter house to check followers' needs.
We will be rewarded.
Oh. Your people generate more faith and zeal the more needs you fulfill. That rhymed. In the house UI, you can see your followers' needs. I'm needy.
Begin by stating your followers' initial
Food.
cravings. Construct the elders'
Clams,
temple and
robes,
offer clam.
elders temple, re-educator.
I serve the deep.
Okay. Unlock and build one clam collector. Did the Frostpunk people make this game? I do not know, but I will go look real quick. What is this game? Worshippers of Cthulu. Developer is Crazy Goat Games? Is that what you're asking? Publisher Crytivo? Tivo? Whatever. I don't know if that answers your question, but I hope it did. Alright, so we need, how did I get there? I don't remember how I got there. I could pause it! I didn't fucking know that. Shit. My mic perfectly covers this little corner right here. Oh, there we go. Lem Collector. They're not made by the same people as... Oh, is Frostpunk a game? Or is that a developer? Because that sounded like a developer to me, but... Ugh. Oh, there's more salvage things. Oh yeah, it's not connected to a fucking road. It's a game where you make a city and try to survive. Oh. No. Different people. The dev was 11-bit studios. I never heard of this game. That's a wild screenshot. Hop off. Okay, oh, whatever. Ah! Ah! Hey. Okay, sorry. Oh, they're making it. Oh, they're making it. Oh, here, y'all get this shit too. Here stands an ancient ruin where ritual for new followers was once performed. Okay, now let's get somebody to work there. We have new people. Oh no, this motherfucker, right? Oh wait, no. Y'all go get clams, motherfucker. Alright, -50. Why is this shit, like, going down? Fuck you. Bitches, I'm fucking trying. Ugh. Y'all needy as fuck. Damn, I need more of this. How do I... Rude. I have to call it a plantation. Alright, what is their need?
Worship the Great One.
Damn, bitch, that takes a long time. Can we sacrifice somebody else? Oh, we got another ad in like a little bit. Fun shit. What is that? What are you? Oh, it's just a rock. I got a boulder. I got a rock. You must construct iron mine on this site. Why? Then why do I have you?
Oh, God.
Go away. I want waffle fries. But about the normal time. Yeah, usually a little bit after like 1-ish. I normally stream on my days off, but sometimes I don't. Like I open tomorrow. I don't even know what I work after that. Hang on. It is usually dictated by my schedule at work. Now they got me doing so much. Not just being a cashier. I think the ad's starting soon. Open, and then 11. Ooh. Oh. Damn, bitch, you only fucking... Hang on, sorry. What that? Why do they only ever give me 31 hours? That shit pisses me off. Anyway. There it goes. Here comes the ad. Oh shit, I'm definitely just like letting shit fall on my bed. Why do you still have no fucking clamps? Bitch. Can I like beat him?
Our work for our God.
Let me have somebody else. Oh wait, we got another person. Hell yeah. Oh, someone moved in.
Worship the great, we obey. We will be rewarded.
Okay, so we don't have anybody that's like whatever. Where are you? Oh, whatever.
Embrace your destiny.
We will be rewarded.
Can I move you?
I serve. We obey.
Let us gather.
This.
We obey.
Oh, there it goes. Welcome back. This is connected, right? Yeah, I had wondered about that. Man, third shift fucking sucks. I worked it many years and I hated every fucking moment of it. Hated it. It sucked. He was wearing a thing where it's like, forgive me, I know it's been a few days and I've learned a lot at work. It was like a brace thing that moved. Like, he'll probably explain more, but like it was like a really cool brace looking thing. Hopefully it, you know, heals quickly because nobody wants to be out of work, but it still sucks. But hey, I have a good thing for you. I post every VOD on Twitter. That one, the thing I just posted, YouTube. The fuck? So, you know, better than nothing. Oh. Yeah, that's what I made, right? Maybe I should make more of these. No? Oh. Whatever. Really, good for you. Honestly, if you can love it, more power to you. I hated it because of how it made me feel, and it hurt my body so fucking bad it's not even funny. Okay, so does that mean we're bringing clams?
High Priest, behold how your faith
We're going into positive, bitch. Look at us. Look at us go. Oh my god. Okay, so now what? Oh, we have to unlock the Builder's Temple, but we still don't have any. What do you do on third shift? If you feel comfortable answering.
Worship
If not, I
the Great
totally
One.
understand it.
I serve the deep.
Bitch. Okay, so we're still, like, losing, but that's not near as bad as it was. We don't have any more. Oh, shit. Oh, she's almost, like, in the green or something. Activity and work, you fulfilled. Okay, so. Oh, wait. So we should look to see what else they need, right? Horn, robes. Okay. So it seems everybody kind of has the same. What is this? Add homeless. Is that giving me the option to kick him out?
We obey.
Well, it's not really letting me do anything with them. I wonder if making, like, decorations. I don't think so. Here, y'all get some light. I don't know what those percents do. That's a lot of words. Nice. I think I... Sorry. I'm a little stupid. I think I... What did I apply for? I don't remember who I applied for now. Damn. Nice. Working there, is that how you hurt your arm? So that sucks. Unless you're getting paid time off, and then, which, that does not suck. What are you doing?
Serve the deep.
How do I get more followers? What do I do? Because I want to make more stuff, but it says I make it. How do I get favor? Maybe I do another one? I do a different one? Oh shit. Let me just make that one. Nice! You know what? Good for you, because nothing is better than loving your job. I wouldn't know, but... I'm happy for you, honestly. Because I love my job at work, at Food Line. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on that I do not love. You know what I mean? But I think that's probably true for everything. Or every job. Ah! I don't know why that surprised me a second time. Ah, my back hurts. Oh, okay, so that is how good. So what should we do? Should we do... Oh, well, let's do, I guess, the temple. And then we'll do another one.
Honor the teaching.
I'm beginning to understand the game. Oh my god. Do that. And then we'll make temple. Influence buildings such as Elder Temple will influence ow! Bitch. Fulfill your flock's needs in its range. To see if it's building a... Cool. Hang on. You! Sorry. Let's just raw dog it, you know? Hell yeah. And then. Uh-oh.
Your flock's primal desires and cravings have been sated, my high priest, rendering them content and, most significantly, more devoted and productive in service to our sacred cause. Behold, your devoted acolytes stand ready, their zeal renewed, their faith unwavering,
Hell yeah.
and eager to advance our noble pursuit. Your men have spotted a lone boat near our shore. It is in a dreadful condition.
Oh shit. A singular boat, badly beaten up, miraculously arrived on the shore. Its inhabitants clumsily exited to the shore, falling to their knees and kissing the ground. They talk of dreams that beckon them here. Your priest suggests that you should offer some of them in gratitude to your lord for this gift. Pick the weakest, order for the blood to be used in a ritual. Welcome the rest of the flock, for their calling just begins. I get, 11 homeless. That's a lot of fucking workers. And then fanaticism. Do not sacrifice any of their rivals and welcome them to the flock, for this is a sign of your god and all will be useful. Yeah, we're not good people.
If souls are on board, we shall seize them and use
Don't
their
make that UI go away. The performance window displays the status of each production building. You can effortlessly monitor the performance of individual workplaces, allocate additional workers, or promptly access the selected building's UI.
Just to deepen our faith.
Can I make that go away? Yes, I can.
Fulfilling the people's needs amplifies our faith in come. Let us bolster our cult and see it flourish.
Dope.
The cult expands, its tendrils stretching beyond control. High Priest, let us convene in the main storage. I have a proposal for maintaining order.
It should be good enough, right? Let's continue. Fuck it. Shit, we really need to... Okay. And then we'll see what all these bitches want. My high priest, when you first lit this path, we stood on known shores, but with a small flock. Now at this sacred site where our fate solidifies, newcomers speak of dreams drawing them to us, and many more will surely come. We must enforce order and reverence through ceremonies. Please, take this knife I found at the abyss's edge. Use it to assert your authority. Bitch. Take the ceremonial blade. I'm gonna stab a bitch. This one needs to be...
Do not hesitate. Build the ceremony hall.
Oh, I made way too much. Whoops. What am I doing? Build a ceremony hall. Oh, because I can... Well, hang on a minute, ho. Hold on. We're gonna make a corn plantation first. Because... I like corn, the band. Alright. Corn! Let's do some plantations out here. This shit gonna be messy. Maybe, okay, maybe you need to go. Alright. I don't know what Ascension does. I know Ascensionism is a song. Alright. And then those people that are like, oh, I'm really into corn. Whoa! Plantation produces corn from fields. To build a field / place field. Blah, 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 blah. Where?
We require workers.
At the water's edge. Okay.
We require workers.
I know, motherfucker. Hang on a minute. Damn. Change assignment. There, because you like porn a lot for some fucking reason. Bitch. Fuck out of my face. Okay.
Oh, high priest.
Let me re... Hey, yeah, no. Shut up.
We will be rewarded.
Let's reevaluate these guys. Okay, so this is a lumberjack, right? Is that not a lumberjack? Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. And then we will... The other one... Hello? Let's do this one. Because they want to be lumber mill. We're picking it up, boys. Alright, let's build... We're in the positive! Bitch! Positive. We're not HIV positive, so that's a good part. Fucking joke. It's South Park. I'm not sorry. Let's do a no? Oh, I need more favor. Need to be a favorite.
We need fields, oh high priest.
That's what I just did. Is that not what this fucking is? Oh, it's perfect. Oh shit, bitch. I know I am.
Embrace your destiny. Embrace your destiny.
Can I upgrade you?
We will be rewarded.
I'm gonna upgrade you. Okay, whatever.
We need fields.
Oh my god, one more, really?
Worship the great.
Now it's happy, okay. Damn. What's... Okay, so let's do more.
Awaken.
Can we do...
No sumo standum. Fermentum.
Do you hear his whisper?
We're doing alright. Let's do one more. And then we'll do that in a minute. We'll do the corn cooker. Because that was part of that one thing. And then we're gonna... Yeah, boy. We're gonna put you right fucking here. I really could have tightened this up, but, I mean... Learning. What? Hang on. Un momento, por favor. Oh yeah, and I need to...
We require workers.
Yes, I'm aware. Unemployed.
Oh high priest.
Your strength must ascend before it allows us slumbering more from the depths.
Y'all hear that? From the depths. Not gonna get touched. If I'm gonna get touched. I'm not sure if I like this. Why are you not working? Where do I need to approach from? Oh shit. What's up, homie? Is that a person in the water?
Your entreaties found favor, and thus came the reward. Now your god hungers for another offering.
Is he fucking Mothman? It just occurred to me. That motherfucker is Mothman. It's fucking Mothman. It took me a minute. You know I have a Mothman plushie. I love everything Eldritch, to be honest with you. Okay, I am not in the mood for that yet.
High Priest, we must navigate the depths to claim distant shores and reach the unenlightened
Yeah, bitch, we
soul
working on our
chosen
shit
to
right now, okay?
satisfy the hunger
Can y'all,
of
like,
our
calm the
deeds.
fuck down? Jesus.
Let us gather.
Okay, so...
Follow the teachings.
Y'all are being extra.
Oblivion beckons.
When y'all, like...
For our God.
Make more.
Let us gather.
We obey.
Why are y'all not working? There we go.
Our work for our God.
I mean, you'll get it. Why do you look like a fucking... Anyway, we need to give them more stuff to do.
Embrace your destiny.
We have far
Our
too
work
many
for our
that are
God.
not working.
Worship the great
Like,
one.
bitch, you could be
Worship
working.
the great. I serve the deep.
Not me mocking my followers. But see, they... Hang on. Hold on. 2 seconds. I'm gonna Google something. Worshippers of Cthulu. Builders. What's it called? Builders what? Jack. Never mind. Guess nobody talks about it. Whatever. Come on, boy. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Now we can do a ceremony hall. Oh shit. You know, let's put you over here. Yeah, storage. Fire station. Uh-oh. Oh, damn. I did not even see that. What the fuck? Why would you have it? Okay, that was weird. Whatever. We're gonna do another one, I guess. Go and get the robe thing. Wait, what would robes require? Or does it just produce? If so, based.
Let us
The
gather.
structure.
Oh. The ceremonial building lets you connect with your faithful to your city and conduct ceremonies and unlock rewards and increase cult fanaticism. I believe everyone here is on the east. MK lives technically more middle, but
Let us gather your
southern.
faithful and conduct the
Aiden, who was
ceremony.
here earlier, he
Lead them toward
lives around
purity
here.
and faith. Lead them toward
think that's-
fanaticism.
Everybody in chat right now. Alright. Let's begin the ceremony. And I know that was to the chat. I just, you know. For carving? Bitch! Unemployed only. Yeah. We're gonna carve you just cause your name's fucking Gideon. In the Yeehaw state. Oh shit! I I don't know if I should show this part. Not that I have an issue with it, but this is gonna be on YouTube, and I don't know how much I also don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna carve some shit into a dude's back. So I'm not gonna show y'all this. So just, you know. There are literally different fucking things. Yeah. You just don't want to show it because they're gonna draw PP. You know what? You know what? I ain't no bitch. This poor kid. It's a fucked up dick. Oh my god. Choose this interpretation of the chicken farm. I'm gonna cry. I have to now. I have to. I really want it to be a smell 3.
High Priest, suffering nobles, mark your people and guide them along the spiritual path in life. Marking the people sets their destined role within the cult.
Cry.
By your hand, your holy mandate is strengthening, as is your people's reverence, pushing them towards fanaticism.
People don't know what happens to some of the materials they produce. They're convinced that they disappear somewhere, but they're afraid to approach the smelly end of the yard, where strange indentations in the ground can barely be seen. Do not fear, my faithful. Our God will light our path. Go and see if the missing materials are there. Decrease. In many tomes I have uncovered there was a mention of foul creatures that digs deep and is hunger and endless. Gather materials and cover the hole. Yeah. Me neither. Oh my god, girl, that's so fucking funny. Chicken farm because I drew a dick. Get it? Because I cock. Oh my god. Oh, I'm not mature enough to play this game. Okay. Excuse me. Let's do road maker and a sheep farm. Oh.
Honor the teachings. Let us gather.
Okay. Shit. Oh, robe. Do. That shit was so fucking funny, bro. That's gotta be clip of the day. Oh my god, that's literally gonna make me cry. Alright. Come on. Look at our little piece.
We obey.
Come on, bitch. Y'all literally next door. Why are you not? Hello? Hello? Oh, I think I need to do a little decon. Oh shit. I didn't mean to do. Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Hello? Verdict maker. Fuck it, let's just do that, right? Yeah. Cool. There we go. Wait.
We require workers, O High Priest.
Oh, plus his heart. Oh. Let's...
I serve the deep.
Do we have another one? Shit, bro. Right? That, you know. Okay, he is in one. Okay, we're good. So how many people are... Should be... Shit. Yeah. Un momento, por favor. Yeah. Un momento, por favor. Yeah. Un momento, por favor. What?
There are no materials, O High Priest.
Oh, I need a sheep. Fuck.
We will awaken.
Let's make a fucking thing.
Oblivion beckons.
So that I didn't realize I was gonna need sheep. That now that I think about it, kind of dumb of me, but it's fine. It's fine. Now we can do a sheep. Sheep. Alright, let's do, cause am I gonna have to have like the farm or
We require workers.
oh bitch. Well, like none of you don't really need yeah, it's fine.
O High Priest.
Okay. Look at all the ships. Okay, so their production. Oh, lamb to sheep. Sheeps. Yeah, I made a bunch of rope stuff, not realizing I need sheep. Oh shit, we about... Wait, what decision? Uh-oh. Your cultists, alerted by the family, find the resident in the basement. His frail limbs are practically disappearing under the pressure of the abundant seafood emerging from his body. Oh my god. The man is alive, whispering softly, gifts from the father Dagon. What are you waiting for? We have received gifts from one of the ancients. Try not to slay him, he may bear fruit again. Production of all clam collection is increased by 60% for 10 minutes. End his suffering and gather the gifts. Production of all clams increased for 30% for 10 minutes. End his suffering and bury him. We're supposed to be evil, y'all. Y'all know that, right? Yeah, yep. We buried him. Okay. Are you guys doing shit yet?
For our God.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Our work
So now.
for our God.
Okay, bro. Damn. How do I get more people?
Oblivion beckons.
Wait, I can do this with a sheep? I don't think we need anything yet, so we're just gonna leave that one there.
I serve the deep.
Oh yeah, isn't there a thing over here that we're supposed to go look at or something? Can I not do anything about that? Oh. I bet that's like back though, like a little bit later. I'm not waiting.
We will be rewarded.
Do I have... Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and make another ritual, though. You make a fucking good point. You make a fucking good point. Oh, we just need one more. Two more.
Let us gather.
Two more. Ah.
Oblivion beckons.
Where do they keep going? Why is it disappearing?
Worship the Great One.
Where is it going?
Oblivion beckons. Let us gather. We will awaken.
Worship the Great
Is it going
One.
to them?
We obey.
We will be rewarded.
Oblivion beckons.
Yeah, but y'all stop taking my shit.
We will.
Bro, I need you to make more. Oh no, I forgot to add that there was a secret nothing. Damn it. Here, let me make more. Cause y'all pissing me off with this shit. Oh, look at that number. Hell yeah. Oh, it's quickly going down. Fuck.
Let us gather. Honor the teachings.
Damn it.
Oblivion beckons.
Maybe I just gotta wait till it... Ugh, y'all are needy as fuck. Oh shit, no, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. Hold on.
Our work for our God.
I work for our God. Shit, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. There we go.
God.
Embrace your destiny.
We have the fucking robe.
Do you hear his whisper? Let us gather. Embrace your destiny.
Worship the Great One.
Oh.
I work for our God. We obey. I serve the...
Oblivion beckons.
Oh, can I...
Let us gather.
How do I keep it?
Our work.
Literally.
We will awaken.
We will be...
Okay, well I get that, but like y'all are hogging all the fucking robes. I just want to do this goddamn thing.
We obey.
Assholes.
We obey.
Do you hear his whisper?
Why do all you bitches need fucking robes?
We obey.
Just run around naked.
I serve the deep. We will be rewarded. I serve.
Rewarded? The fuck was
I
that, bro?
I serve the deep.
Embrace your destiny.
I won.
Embrace your destiny.
Oh, fuck you.
Fulfill the prophecy. Honor the teachings.
I'm about to kill all these motherfuckers. What do y'all need all these robes for?
Fulfill the prophecy. Oblivion beckons. You will awaken.
Bitch.
Oh yay! I'm a sacrifice!
Scared me. Come on. Give me one more. Hungry. What? No, I had two.
Embrace your destiny.
Oh, you stupid motherfucker! I'm gonna lose my shit. Give me the fucking robe. I'm getting angry. Ah! Finally got. I'll just do this. Cause I want to see what kind of fight if a new thing comes out. Like, you know what? You're right, but you didn't have to knock my fucking books over to make that point. I forgot that, I forgot to put my candle back that holds up my books. Oh yeah, I never showed you guys. Hang on. I'm gonna mention. Ah! My knee! Hold on. I never showed you guys. Hang on. I forgot to show you. I don't know what I'm doing. Show you guys. Nah, that's the better one. Nope. So, I used to have a big TV beside my main TV that I stream from, right? And I used to have stuff here. And it was cluttered. And I hated it. And I have a lot of books because I'm a book nerd and I like to read. Definitely not smut. I did all these. With my laptop. And then all my stuff. This is Rachel's books. These are not mine. The collection art that I got forever ago. And then, well, you guys are like right there. But like, you can't see that because whatever. Thanks! I happen to like them a lot. There's 2 books missing. The first, The Butcher and Blackbird, the first one, Rachel has it. And then she has my Assassin's Blade. So, yeah. I also have a book that y'all would not have been able to see. It is Death's Obsession by Aviana St. Graves. Fucking good book. Little bit raunchy, but not that bad. The story's really good. There's one that I haven't read. I have no. I have not read Powerless, Crescent City, because I want to get through Throne of Glass first. But I'm a little stuck. I have Onyx Storm. I'm 10 chapters into it, and I don't want to fucking read anymore. Yeah. Rhapsodia, I got that in a Christmas gift. It was a blind date with a book, and I have not read it yet, because I have like 4 other books I'm trying to read first. You know, fun shit. Alright, we back? We're back, okay. Let's see, is it a new thing? Nah, it's just the same. Oh, he yeeted that bitch. Alright, we can do the summon ritual now. We already got that. Bye! God damn, what the fuck is all this shit? Okay, first, this one, right? Oh. Look at us go. New build, yes, where's this supposed to go? Oh! this have to be connected to a fucking road too? You silly slut. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Oh shit. I'll look away for 2 seconds. Damn. We are running out of rope. Each horror invoked with a summoning ritual site requires a pylon to be controlled. Starting the ritual requires sacrificing a specific amount of materials and designating followers for exhalation? Is that the word? Cool. Oh. In order to summon and control eldritch horrors, you ought to construct pylons whose foundations touch the ancient city of Relais. Pylons can only be constructed in set places. I've seen them. Like, there's one, like, over here. So...
High Priest, a group of your acolytes have beheld something in the distant waters. Bless them with your presence, and they will unveil its nature.
Sure. Your people point towards the ship, slowly cleaving through the encroaching mist. One man who arrived on the first vessel kneels before you, assuring that he recognizes the craft. They too were dreamers, preparing to set sail when his crew departed, with many more to follow. Suddenly he falters as something falls from the approaching ship, vanishing into the thick fog surrounding it. Our Lord beckons, let them come. Waves of followers. The next followers will arrive at your time. New followers will arrive at your island on a timer. The timer in the top UI shows how much time is left. Jesus Christ, did I fucking fail kindergarten? Until the next follower wave arrives. The wave size can be modified with beacon altar and fast fanaticism. Fanaticism can also impact wave time.
High Priest, our Lord grants visions, beckoning people to our shores.
I'm gonna make some more roads. Cause that bitch don't cost nothing to make.
They have arrived. The first
they have arrived. Damn, boy,
to
you're
us
gonna...
by the grace of our God.
Anyway.
Let us make the best use of this gift. Harness their toil and worship to strengthen our cause.
Hey, no worries, man. Thank you for joining. It was very good to hear from you again. Hopefully that arm heals up real nice and good and quick. And, we'll see you next time, bro. Ah, damn, I was almost perfect on that one. Let's see, what's that? Damn, bitch, we about to have a whole lot of homeless. Shit. Damn. I thought this thing was supposed to autosave. What the fuck? Kind of stupid. I have new buildings to unlock. Good. I don't. It's like, why? It said pylons, right? That's what this is. Oh, there's a thing there. Unless there's somewhere else. Nobody can do stuff. Okay.
Embrace your destiny. Embrace your destiny. We will awaken.
Why can't I do anything?
Our work for our God. Our work for our... We will be rewarded.
Nice. Shit! Ow. That can hurt. Not quite sure what to do here.
Follow the teachings.
Let's do this.
Prophecy.
Hell yeah. So now, I mean, we could get more storage, but really not at that point. Oh! Real smart. Smarticus Spartacus. This building, though. Blood for the blood god. Ah. Cool. I'm gonna save. I'm starting to get a headache. This is fucking fun. I think I'm gonna be done with this game for now. Not like for good, but just like for stream today. I also have a lot of stuff I want to do to add to stream for next time. So maybe I can actually tell y'all when I plan to stream again. My next day off is Sunday. So I might. Probably. We'll stream then. Let's go see who's streaming. Let's see who's online. Let's see who's live. I know who we're gonna go raid. Yeah. We're gonna go raid our good friend and love. I love this girl. She is so sweet. Her name is Space Angie, and she is great. We're gonna go raid her. She is super sweet. We're gonna do this. One moment. I don't even know what she's playing. The Forgotten City, whatever that is. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I've had a fucking blast. I'm gonna be adding a lot of stuff. I'm gonna add some stuff to. I will alert everybody through the Discord of what I add. So, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for watching. This will be up on YouTube later today. Love you guys a lot. Have a good one.